Man, that morning grog in my throat. I don't even know if grog is a word, but we are here, and I'm glad that you are here for the Authentic Man 60-day devotional. This is day 3. All right, we're getting through this thing. And again, this is the devotional. It's actually what they call a daily reflections for men. Authentic manhood, a man in his design. Let's get into it. Day 3, we're talking about being disconnected. Man, I know this one is going to hurt because so many of us as men are living on islands simply to ourselves, even with families. We're leading families and we're still on islands and living life in isolations and in isolation. And God didn't intend for us to live in isolation. He intended for us to live in community. He even said in Genesis, where he said, it's not good for man to live alone. And I really believe that. And it's a struggle for me to live in community and to really embrace my friends, especially new friends, right? And so let's talk about being disconnected. Let's see what Steve Snyder has to say about being disconnected. And it reads, we men love to fix things. So it's no great surprise that when we see something that's broken in our lives, our first inclination is to fix it. When we aren't sure how to proceed, we often will disconnect from the problem until we can figure out a way to fix it that makes sense to us. Unfortunately, when it comes to brokenness in relationships, our disconnects often put us in hot water. They can be experienced by our families and friends as disentrance, which can use, which can cause friction. And then when things seem to be heating up instead of cooling off, what do? We disconnect more. Sometimes we entirely disengage. To us, this makes perfect sense, but to others, it can be hurtful and frustrating. Why do we do this? While some of it may be due to our simple desire to fix things, this often has its roots in something bigger and deeper. Maybe it's that as men, we're just not willing to admit our confusion or lack of direction about a problem, or we feel the need to solve everything by ourselves in order to be respected real men. Many men have been raised with an idea of masculinity that has the potential to alienate and isolate us in the times that we most need help. Man, that's so true. For real. I'm gonna read that one again. Y'all gotta hear this one. Many men have been raised with the idea of masculinity that has the potential to alienate and isolate us in times that we need the most help. Have you ever, gone through something and people ask you how you're doing, and the first thing you say is, I'm good, I'm all right. And you're going through. I mean, you're really going through, you're really struggling, you're really going through a hard time, a hardship, and you don't have the answers. And then someone reaches out in love, in the spirit of caring, and you don't receive it, right? And you have this picture of masculinity in your mind where you have to handle it alone. Maybe it's a financial struggle, maybe it's a health struggle, maybe you've lost a loved one and you're just going through life alone, trying to shoulder grief alone, trying to shoulder this financial burden alone. Maybe it's a job loss and you're just going through it alone. Your wife is reaching out, your siblings are reaching out, your friends, your pastor, man, co-workers maybe even trying to reach out to you, and you're just trying to go through this thing all by yourself in isolation. Man, nothing good comes from a life of isolation, right? And so um, we have to embrace the community. All right, let's keep reading. Instead of reaching out when we don't know how to deal with a relational issue, we cut the line. disconnect, and try to figure it all out on our own. We just talked about that. To live more authentically in relationship with others, we need to put aside our impulse to fix everything ourselves and allow ourselves the grace to be human, the freedom to be sometimes confused, and even the permission to fail. Man, that's good stuff. Let's get into our action step, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. Recall in your journal times when you've chosen to disconnect rather than draw near in some of your close relationships. How could you have handled those instances in more helpful and healing ways? Next, when things are broken in a relationship, am I more likely to disconnect or draw near so we can work on it together? How can I get better at staying connected to my family and friends even when things go wrong? Man, I know one thing that my older brother and we're doing is on his ride, his ride from work back home, in the late afternoon, he'll give me a call, right? And I'm starting to really look forward to these calls because it's a chance for us not only to connect, but it's a chance for us to um, really be vulnerable, right? And really share what we're going through. And who better than your big bro, right? To discuss these things with and share in a non judgmental environment, someone who you know has your best interest and really has a genuine love and a genuine heart for you. And so I really look forward to these talks. Shout out to my brother. He know who he is. Man, thanks. Thanks, Wayne. Yeah. And then man, I need to really work on leaning into just sharing things with my wife, because I think I've fallen victim to this warped, broken view of masculinity where, when I'm going through something, I need to shoulder it. We were looking at a movie, and this may be a horrible example, but we were just looking at this movie yesterday, the whole family and I. I think it's the 648 about the women, the only African American women army unit, the WAC, Women's Army Corps unit that was in World War II. I think Kerry Washington is the lead actress in it, and I'm watching it, and throughout it, because I'm a veteran, and so some of this stuff is relating to me, and so I went to war, went to combat 3 times, and so man, I'm tearing up through some of the movie, right? And so I'm trying to move and position myself so that my family couldn't see me tearing up. Why is that? And I'm so pro cry, like men crying. I'm for that. If my son is crying, let those tears out. I love the work that Jason Wilson is doing with the author of the book Cry Like a Man and Battle Cry, where he talks about how there's stress hormones in your tears. And so imagine creating a culture, whether it's in your home or in society, where it's not okay for men to cry. We need to normalize that. That's another broken view of masculinity. Real men cry. All right, real men cry. It takes strength to cry, right? And so, man, disconnected. Are you disconnected? What are some ways that you are disconnected? What are some ways that this today's um, reflection ministered to you? Want to hear about it? Write it in the comments. Share it with the Pop Talk community. Hey, listen, another day in the books. Let's go do hard things. All right, let's get it started. Salute. Peace.